Breaking, this just in. Today, we're going to dive deep into the hottest headlines shaping our world, from groundbreaking discoveries in Earth's core to cybersecurity breaches affecting millions of Americans. We'll break down the key stories that you need to know. The latest DNA privacy controversy surrounding 23&Me, an uncommonly strong atmospheric river, even a Chinese nuclear submarine mishap. It's all here. We're going to expose New York City Mayor Eric Adams' shocking charges, a hidden structure within our planet, and the first ever high-energy quantum entanglement between quarks. Plus, geoengineering solutions to save the Arctic's ice, the latest in the U.S. ransomware attacks, and more. Stay tuned as we connect the dots between science, politics, cybersecurity, and the changing landscapes of our modern world. I'm Rex Bear, Leak Project. I hope your day is going fantastic. I did want to share some good news with you. This is from the Jerusalem Post. $3,800 gold soon? ? Your gold and silver stack is about to become very priceless. Lobo to Gray. He sees a bright future for gold and silver, citing strong fundamentals and investment opportunities. If you haven't given Noble Gold Investments a call, I don't know what the heck you're waiting for. There's some great opportunities right now. They're even going to gift you, if you qualify, this is really cool, 10 ounces of solid silver. You could pick a 10-ounce American flag solid silver bar, or you could go with 10 1-ounce silver Trump rounds. This is a silver round you can see right here. And this is available to you through Noble Gold Investments. Give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. You can go to leakprojectgold.com. They're giving out free ebooks, how to help you get out of the rat race. Also, go to noblegoldinvestments.com. When you give them a call, let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you, and they will help you as much as possible. Their customer service is top notch. And there's so many great opportunities right now in precious metals. There's obviously never any guarantees. So you look at what the big banks, the money funders, and the governments around the world are doing. And wow, so much potential with precious metals right now. So many opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. Get some. Convert your IRA or 401 through Noble Gold Investments today. This is the Economic Times. U.S. to face a severe dollar crisis. Gold prices to skyrocket, warns Peter Schiff. I'll leave the link in the video description box. Now, for you silver tards out there, I'm included in this. Investing Haven's research team confirms that $34.70 an ounce is a no-brainer for silver targets in 2024. Their second bullish target is $37.70 an ounce. And if that's cleared, they expect a quick rise to $48 to $50 an ounce to hit in the period of April through June of 2025. Be prepared, not scared. BRICS is meeting next month in Russia. Listen to this. The BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia, from October 22nd through 24th will focus on a number of topics, including politics, security, economy, and finance, cultural and humanitarian ties, de-dollarization, and gold-backed common currency. There's over 159 nations right now that want to get in on this BRICS payment system, and this meeting next month is going to be very telling about the future of the US dollar and the rise of the BRICS they call units. It's going to be intense. Also, I don't know if you saw this article or not. This is from the Council of Councils, the Council of Foreign Relations, the BRICS Summit seeking an alternative world order. So we have a lot to talk about today. Let's just jump right in. This is theatlantic.com. Remember that DNA you gave 23&Me? The company is in trouble, and anyone who was spit into one of those companies' test tubes should be concerned. The article is from Kristen V. Brown. So 23&Me, the stock is on the verge of being delisted. It shut down its in-house drug development unit last month, and this is only the latest in several rounds of layoffs. Last week, the entire board of directors quit, save for Ann W., the co-founder and the company's CEO. Amid this downward spiral, Ann W. has said she's going to consider selling 23&Me, which means the DNA of 23&Me's 15 million customers would be up for sale too. How do you feel about that? I'll bet you feel nice and safe, right? Knowing you sent your DNA in, just wanting to find your relatives and where you came from. And now You're thinking to yourself probably like, what are they going to do with my DNA? Are they going to create certain applications that are connected to my DNA to influence my DNA? I mean, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of speculation, and you know what? You should be questioning these things. This is quite alarming because in today's technological fields, not only with DNA, but also the personal information like your social security number, your medical records, there's been so many hacks just the past year alone, and it's probably going to get worse, folks. I'm going to share some more articles with you in a minute about some of these cybersecurity breaches. They even have large government institutions that have now admitted they've been held in ransomware attacks. I mean, this is wild. So let's go back to this article real quick. 23andMe's trove of genetic data might be its most valuable asset. For about 2 decades, since human genome analysis became quick and common, the A's, C's, G's, and T's of DNA have allowed long-lost relatives to connect. Family secrets. Also, it's helped the police catch serial killers and other bad guys and bad gals. Some people's genomes contain clues to what's making them sick, even occasionally how their disease should be treated. Now, for most of us, though consumers' tests don't have much to offer beyond a snapshot of our ancestors' roots and confirmation of their traits we already know about, 23andMe is floundering in part because it hasn't managed to prove the value of collecting all that sensitive personal information. Potential buyers may have very different ideas about how to use the company's DNA data to raise the company's bottom line. This should concern anyone who has used the service. DNA might contain health information. 23andMe is not bound by the health privacy law, HIPAA, and the company's privacy policies make clear that in the event of a merger or an acquisition, customer information is a saleable asset. 23andMe promises to ask its customers permission before using their data for research or targeted advertising. But that doesn't mean the next boss will do the same. It says so right there in the fine print. The company reserves the right to update its policies at any time. Then a spokesperson acknowledged to The Atlantic this week that the company can't fully guarantee the sanctity of customer data. But it did say in a statement that any scenario which impacts our customers' data would need to be carefully considered. We take the privacy and trust of our customers very seriously and would strive to maintain commitments outlined in our privacy statement. Read all about it, The Atlantic. I'm going to leave the link in the video description box. I mean, is your mind not running wild about what could be done with your DNA on the open market? I'm starting to think of science fiction scenarios here beyond most people's wildest dreams. A lot of stuff that's going through my mind right now, I don't even want to say online because it could be that powerful. And if I'm thinking it, you're probably thinking it. If I'm thinking it, they're thinking it. Think of a company that could maximize profits off of individual DNA. Oh, well, what if the highest bidder of that personal DNA is a private party somewhere else, in another country? What if a government wants to buy all of that data? A foreign government. Why would they want to buy it? What would they do with it? The possibilities are endless. And as of right now, it's speculation. So buckle up, Buttercup, because if you look outside in a few weeks and you see a cloned mini-me, you might start to question reality. Like, what if they start to make computers out of your DNA? This is a big what if, but I shared with people 10 years ago, they were going to make computers out of human DNA. They've been hooking robots up to organoids. They've been hooking robots up to mushrooms, and certain fungus not only communicates with words or a type of words, a type of communication, but they're also moving robots. Robots are hooked up to mushrooms and robots move with mushroom brains. Now they're creating organoid brains and xenobots and self-replicating. Wow. I mean, this is This is more science fiction than the science fiction that was shared with us 60 years ago in many aspects. This is far out, folks. So what are your thoughts about your DNA being sold to the highest bidder now? And there's not a whole lot that appears you, but they did say they're concerned about your privacy, even though they could sell it to other people. They're concerned until they sell it and they're not liable anymore. Hello, that's my opinion. I want to hear yours. Next article. This is Science Alert. Scientists detected signs of a hidden structure inside Earth's core. While most of us take the ground beneath our feet for granted, written within its complex layers lies a book of Earth's history, our history. Research shows there is little known chapters in that history deep within Earth's past. In fact, Earth's inner core appears to have another, even more inner core within it. Wow, an inner core within the inner core. That sounds fun. Traditionally, we've been taught the Earth has four main layers: the crust, the mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. Australian National University geophysicist Joanne Stevenson explained back in 2021. Our knowledge of what lies beneath Earth's crust has been inferred mostly from what volcanoes have divulged and what seismic waves have whispered. From these indirect observations, scientists calculated that the scorchingly hot inner core has temperatures that surpass 5,000 degrees Celsius, 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it makes up only 1% of Earth's total volume. However, a few years ago, Stevenson and colleagues found evidence Earth's inner core may actually have two distinct layers. It's very exciting and might mean we have to rewrite the textbooks, Stevenson explained at the time. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I personally would love to see is when information is verified as best as possible. If these older models that are available in textbooks and teachings have been outdated and they need to be rewritten, let's get it out. Let's get this information out there to everybody. Otherwise, they're teaching people nonsense, knowing they're teaching people nonsense. I think it's 5 or 6 corporations that control the majority of textbooks that schools get. Think about that. 5 or 6 corporations controlling almost all the information your kids learn about in school. How do you feel about that? That's just the tip of the iceberg, and we don't need to get into that today. But the education system oftentimes, to me, in my opinion, seems like an indoctrination system of old ideas that have already been disproven. And now with technology and advancements, let's give this knowledge to the future generations and to those in the now. Just imagine how amazing the world will become when knowledge is readily available to everybody openly that will benefit the world. Anyway, that's just a quick tangent there. Let's get back to the article. The team used a search algorithm to trawl through the matched thousands of models of the inner core with observed data across many decades about how long seismic waves take to travel through Earth, gathered by the International Seismological Center. There you go. ScienceAlert.com. Then it goes on to say, what's down there? The team looked at some models of the inner core, anisotropy, how differences in the makeup of its material alters the properties of seismic waves, and found some were more likely than others. While some models suggest the material of the inner core channels seismic waves faster parallel to the equator, others indicate the mix of materials allows for faster waves more parallel to Earth's rotational axis. Even then, there are arguments about the exact degree of difference at certain angles. The study here didn't show much variation with depth in the inner core, but it did find there was a change in the slow direction to a 54-degree angle with the faster direction of waves running parallel to the axis. We found evidence that may indicate a change in the structure of iron, which suggests perhaps 2 separate cooling events in Earth's history, Stevenson said. The details of this big event are still a bit of a mystery, but we've added another piece to the puzzle when it comes to our knowledge of the Earth's inner core. And these findings may explain why some experimental evidence has been inconsistent with our current models of Earth's structure. The presence of an innermost layer has been suspected before, with hints that iron crystals that compose the inner core have different structural alignments. Wow, that sounds pretty cool. Iron crystals within the core, a crystalline iron ore. It's like a crystal star within the Earth. We are limited by the distribution of global earthquakes and receivers, especially at popular antipodes, the team wrote in their paper, explaining the missing data decreases the certainty of their conclusions. Still pretty darn cool. I'm all for the science, man. Show me the science. I'm waiting to hear your comments on that. It's too bad certain people took that information and marketed it to make it. Anyway, whole other podcast. Next article. NBC News. Helene live updates. Storm kills at least 65 as North Carolina reels from devastating floods. Days after Helene made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 4 hurricane, more than 3 million customers remain without power. Helene made landfall Thursday night in Florida, Big Bend. The storm is expected to dissipate Monday, but heavy rain and flash flooding remain a threat for parts of the Appalachians. Hundreds of thousands of customers remain without electricity, including more than 1.5 million in the Carolinas and more than 600,000 in Georgia. President Biden approved a major disaster declaration for Florida to provide assistance to areas affected by Hurricane Helene. May the force be with you. At least 190 people rescued in Florida, according to an update issued by Office of Governor Ron DeSantis. The Florida National Guard rescued 155 people via ground and air, including an 80-year-old wheelchair-bound woman who was in a flooded building. For the update, the National Guard also rescued 56 animals. Cool. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission conducted 21 rescues in Citrus County and evacuated 45 residents from the barrier islands. Urban search and rescue teams rescued 13 people. A lot of people displaced in Pinellas County in Helene aftermath. So, President Biden does promise to ensure no resource is spared to help communities devastated by Helene. 73 people unaccounted for in Tennessee County. Over 2.5 million customers still without power. I'll leave the link in the video description box. NBCnews.com. Earth Observatory. An uncommonly strong atmospheric river. The storm, which drenched coastal British Columbia and southeastern Alaska, may be among the region's most intense in the past couple of decades. Look at this. Will you just look at it? A powerful atmospheric river swept through the Gulf of Alaska in September, bringing abundant rain to coastal British Columbia, Canada, and southeastern Alaska. Because of its duration and the concentration of moisture moving across the ocean, experts suspect this atmospheric river was among the most intense to transit the Northeast Pacific in a satellite-based record going back to 2000. The potent storm is visible in this image acquired by the Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer suit on the Suomi NPP satellite, September 22nd. In the image, an elongated stream of water vapor, the hallmark of atmospheric rivers, has reached the west coast of North America after crossing the Pacific from Southeast Asia. When atmospheric rivers encounter land, they often release the water vapor in the form of rain or snow. Wow. And you know what this makes me think of? Not only is the weather very extreme, and there's a lot of variables within the weather, not just human caused, but created by the sun and the atmospheric conditions and the stars and where we're at in the solar system and the universe, etc. There's a lot of variables there. But what's interesting is all of the news lately about geoengineering to save the planet. Now, for those of us that were talking about this 20 years ago, we were labeled as tinfoil hatters, and now it's all over the news. But a lot of stuff from then until now has been misrepresented. There has been a lot of disinformation and misinformation and over-exaggerated information. about the cause and effect of geoengineering. So let's keep that in mind when we talk about this. And I also find it very interesting that, well, here's an example. New Scientist. Geoengineering is now essential to saving the Arctic's ice. If we want to preserve the dwindling ice in the Arctic, cutting our emissions is no longer enough. We also need to use geoengineering to refreeze this precious ecosystem. The Arctic is shedding ice at a rate of 12% per decade and is set to be ice-free in the summer by the 2030s, regardless of how fast we cut emissions from now on. Meanwhile, in Antarctica, the vast Thwaites Glacier is cracking under the pressure of global warming, and Antarctic sea ice has been tracking at record lows in 2024 for the second year running. We must cut emissions and fast, but that alone won't be enough to stop the runaway melt in the Arctic. To buy us time and to buttress this delicate habitat from a warming world, geoengineering is probably our only. One solution comes from startup Real Ice, which plans to use seawater to thicken the Arctic's ice. It is controversial. Geoengineering of this sort, opponents argue, risks distracting humanity from the gargantuan task of cutting emissions. Well, that's one of the more mellow geoengineering projects that I've seen. I don't want to say mellow, but that's one of the less extreme geoengineering projects that I have read about. Some of the chemicals and blockers they want to put into the atmosphere in attempts to block the sun, some of the stuff they want to spray into the water, in my opinion, is far, far beyond a solution, but whatever. Clearly, they know more than we do, and they love us so much. They love us so much, folks. And then you look at who's backing these startup companies. It's like, oh, interesting. No wonder it's so popular. We'll leave it at that. But check this out. Here's some more interesting news. This is from the United States Attorney's Office, the Southern District of New York. Justice.gov. Press release. New York City Mayor Eric Adams charged with bribery and campaign finance offenses. Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, James E. Dennehy, the Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Jocelyn E. Strauber, the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Investigation, announced today the unsealing of an indictment charging Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, with bribery, campaign finance, and conspiracy offenses. The case is assigned to U.S. District Judge Del E. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said, as alleged, Mayor Adams abused his position as the city's highest elected official, and before that as Brooklyn Borough President, to take bribes and solicit illegal campaign contributions by allegedly taking improper and illegal benefits from foreign nationals, including to allow a Manhattan skyscraper to open without a fire inspection. Adams put the interest of his benefactors, including a foreign official, above those of his constituents. This office and our partners at the FBI and DOI will continue to pursue corruption anywhere in this city, especially when that corruption takes the form of illegal foreign influence on our democratic system. Wow. Wow. That's pretty powerful, folks. So, looking forward to seeing the outcome of this. FBI Assistant Director James E. Dennehy said today's indictment serves as a sobering monument, or a sobering moment, I should say, and it's a memento. It's a monumental task here. Today's indictment serves as a sobering moment, but also sends a powerful message to every elected official in this country. Public service is a profound responsibility, and it should be a noble calling. I agree with that 100%. Thank you for saying that. When that's perverted by greed and dishonesty, it robs us of our trust. This is a reminder that no one is above the law or beyond reproach. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Next article. This is interesting. I don't know if there's any connection here. This is from CBSNews.com. Linda's son, former aide to two New York governors, charged with being undisclosed agent of China? Well, hello. A former aide to New York governors Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo was arrested by the FBI on Tuesday morning, the FBI said. Linda's son, a former deputy chief of staff, was arrested along with her husband, Chris Hu. The FBI said they're charged with acting as undisclosed agents of the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party. The arrest happened Tuesday morning at their multi-million-dollar home in Manhasset on Long Island. The indictment is more than 60 pages long and alleges son and her husband gained millions in financial benefits to buy luxury properties and fancy cars. Wow. Then listen to this. Sun allegedly kept Taiwanese officials from the governor's office. Sun held a lot of different jobs during the 13 years she worked in New York state government. She was supposed to focus on business development and Asian American affairs. According to federal prosecutors, her real focus was doing the bidding of the Chinese government, including an important mission, preventing officials from Taiwan from gaining access to the government's office. Wow. Wow. Speaking of China, defensenews.com, Chinese nuclear attack submarine sank during construction, the U.S. says. Oops. Satellite imagery showed that China's newest nuclear. Let me show you this here. Let's take a look at this. This is the image from defensenews.com. There you go. The satellite image from Planet Labs, PBC, shows what happens or what appears to be a sunken Chinese submarine at a shipyard near Wuhan, China, June 15, 2024. The sinking of China's first Zhu-class submarine represents a setback for Beijing as it continues to build out the world's largest navy. Beijing has become increasingly assertive in pursuing its claim to virtually the entire South China Sea, which is crucial to international trade. Meanwhile, China faces long-time territorial disputes involving others in the region, including Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan, Vietnam. The United States has sought to strengthen ties to its allies in the region and regularly sells through these waters and operations it says maintains freedom of navigation for vessels there, angering Beijing. America! Oh yeah! The submarine likely sank between May and June when satellite images showed cranes that would be necessary to lift it off the bottom of the river, said the official who spoke on condition of anonymity to provide details about the submarine loss. China's been building its naval fleet at a breakneck pace, and the U.S. considers China's rise one of its main future security concerns. Well, what if they just drop it? Like, what if it's completed and they just drop it in the water to make, like, oh, well, yeah, it sank. Yeah, that's what happened. It just sank, man. We messed up. We're going to have to go get it. Because they know we're watching. That'd be a perfect trick to make it look like it sank, but it really didn't. In my opinion, of course, just an opinion. TechRadar.com. The U.S. government agency confirms it was hit by major ransomware attacks. It's been over a year since news of the Move It breach first emerged, and we're still getting information about the victims. The latest firm to add to the list is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is a U.S. federal agency within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It oversees the nation's major healthcare programs, including Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Insurance Program, and so plays a crucial role in administering health coverage to millions of Americans. The agency has now confirmed a data breach incident as a result of the Move It vulnerability that saw sensitive data belonging to 3,112,815 people, give or take a few people, stolen. Many of those are either deceased or not Medicare beneficiaries, since CMS only notified roughly 950,000 people. What could be included in the breach? Personally identifiable information, including names, social security numbers, individual taxpayer identification numbers, birth dates, mailing addresses, gender data, hospital account numbers, dates of services, Medicare beneficiary identifiers, and health insurance claim numbers. Wow. This is more than enough data, according to the article, to mount identity theft or phishing attacks that could result in even more disruptive attacks. Last year, ransomware operators CIOP found a flaw in the managed file transfer service and used it to steal sensitive data from hundreds of organizations around the world, leading to the SEC launching a full investigation. Now, that's one of many breaches, as we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. Here's another one from Malwarebytes Labs, malwarebytes.com. 100 million plus U.S. citizens have records leaked by background check service. A background check left a huge database unprotected online containing 2.2 terabytes of people's data, according to the research by Cyber News. The database was left passwordless and easily accessible to anyone on the internet by background check firm MC2 Data. MC2 Data gathers publicly available data to provide decision makers with information whether someone can rent a house, work at their firm, or be granted a loan. The data is usually gathered online through criminal records, employment history, family data, and contact details. Just like the huge national public data breach, this is another example of companies that most of us have never heard of having extensive databases with an enormous amount of personal data. In this case, researchers found 106,316,633 records containing private information about U.S. citizens. Cyber News estimates that at least 100 million individuals are affected, meaning approximately 1 in 3 U.S. citizens can expect to find their data in that data set. The website that MC2 Data operates include private records, private reports, People Searcher, the People Searchers, People Search USA. Leaked data includes names, emails, IP addresses, user agents, encrypted passwords, partial payment information, home addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, property records, legal records, families, relatives, neighbors, data, employment history. To make things even worse, the data of 2,319,873 users who subscribed to MC2 Data services were leaked as well. Wow. This is, according to the article, incomprehensible that services like these are allowed to exist without any kind of control or sense of responsibility. I would agree. Regardless of all the regulations and laws these companies need to abide by, we find time and time again that their security measures are below par. Wow. But let's go to the next article. First ever observation of spooky action between quarks is highest energy quantum entanglement ever detected. This is livescience.com. The discovery of 2 entangled quarks at the Large Hadron Collider is the highest energy observation of entanglement ever made. Yeah. Physicists at the world's largest atom smasher have observed 2 quarks in a state of quantum entanglement for the first time. The observation made at the Large Hadron Collider revealed a top quark, the heaviest fundamental particle, quantumly linked to its antimatter counterpart in the highest energy detection of entanglement ever made. The researchers published their findings September 18th in the journal Nature. The Atlas experiment is the largest detector at the LHC and picks out the tiny subatomic particles created after beams of particles crash into each other at near light speeds. While particle physics is deeply rooted in quantum mechanics, the observation of quantum entanglement in a new particle system and at much higher energy than previously possible is remarkable. Andreas Hochul, a spokesperson for the Atlas experiment, said in an email statement, "It paves the way for new investigations into this fascinating phenomenon, opening up a rich menu of exploration as our data samples continue to grow." Halo. The quantum matrix, ladies and gentlemen. Particles that are entangled have their properties connected to each other, so that a change to one instantaneously causes a change to another, even if they are separated by vast distances. Albert Einstein famously dismissed the idea as spooky action at a distance, but later experiments proved that the bizarre locality breaking effect is indeed real. Links in the video description box. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get your thoughts. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day. Hit the bell for all notifications and check us out on Patreon. We have a plethora of exclusive content on Patreon. You're only going to find on Patreon, as well as our website, which is being updated right now. 8 years worth of interviews, thousands of interviews with amazing guests from around the world. You're only going to find on the project as well. And have a beautiful day. Be the change you want to see.
Everybody's on that.